Have you ever noticed how right before something big is about to happen, your mind just starts racing?
Oh, yeah.
Like a million worries all at once.
Like your subconscious is throwing a party you weren't invited to.
Exactly. Palms sweating, that kind of thing.
Makes you wonder how we ever get anything done, right?
Mm,
I mean, think about it. Our minds are capable of incredible things.
I know. We can compose symphonies, write novels, build skyscrapers.
Yet we also let our own internal dramas completely trip us up sometimes.
It's almost comical when you think about it. Like, remember Enrico Caruso?
Oh, the opera singer?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
guy had an amazing voice, could hit those high notes like nobody's business.
Legendary tenor.
But sometimes, right before he'd go on stage, he'd be hit with such bad stage fright that his throat would practically close up.
No way. Seriously.
Yeah. It's like you're a master of your craft, but your own mind is holding you back.
That's wild.
And that brings us to today's deep dive. We're going to explore this powerful, often hidden world of the subconscious mind.
We're going deep.
Super deep. And our guide for this journey is the brilliant Joseph Murphy and his classic book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. You've already checked out the summary and infographic.
Right, so we're not going to bore you with the basics.
Exactly. This is about extracting the really juicy bits, those key insights you can start using in your life right now.
Actionable stuff.
So, to introduce our guide for today, Joseph Murphy was an Irish-American author who had this really interesting background. I mean, the guy had degrees in psychology and delved deep into religious science and divine science, even serving as a minister.
Those were pretty big in the early 20th century.
They were. These movements placed a lot of emphasis on the power of the mind, especially for healing and well-being. But what I find really fascinating about Murphy is how he drew from his research across world religions.
That was extensive, his research.
It was, and he saw this common thread, this belief in a powerful life force that resides within each of us.
Like this wellspring of potential just waiting to be tapped.
Precisely. And for Murphy, the subconscious wasn't just some passive storage unit for memories, but a dynamic force constantly shaping our reality.
Based on the suggestions we feed it, whether we realize it or not.
Exactly. Okay, so let's dive into the heart of it, the core idea, the incredible power within each of us.
All right, so the foundational principle of Murphy's work is this. Your subconscious mind is an absolute powerhouse, and it's working all the time, processing information, influencing your experiences. Most of the time, you're not even aware of it.
It's like a silent partner in everything you do.
Exactly. Murphy himself said it best. I'll quote him here. The law of the subconscious mind works for good and bad ideas. When applied negatively, it causes failure, frustration, and unhappiness. However, when your habitual thinking is harmonious and constructive, you experience perfect health, success, and prosperity.
Wow. Okay, so it's like having this supercomputer in your head.
Super powerful, yes.
And it's constantly running programs, whether you're actively telling it what to do or not.
Exactly. So the real question is, how do we actually make this incredible power work for us, rather than potentially against us?
Right. How do we take the reins and steer it in the direction we want to go?
That's where the whole idea of training your subconscious comes in.
So just like learning a new skill, we can actually train our subconscious.
Absolutely. It takes effort, just like anything else you want to get good at. Think about when you first learned to ride a bike.
Oh my God, such a struggle.
Right. You had to consciously think about every single movement. Balancing, pedaling, steering.
I definitely fell a few times.
Most of us do. But with practice, all those clumsy movements become smooth, automatic. Your subconscious takes over. Before you know it, you're riding without even thinking about it.
And that's exactly what we want to do with our subconscious mind, right? Train it to work automatically in our favor.
Exactly. It's about repetition. Just like practicing a skill over and over makes it second nature, consistently repeating positive thoughts and beliefs can reprogram your subconscious, ingraining those new patterns.
Like laying down new mental pathways.
Exactly. And it's not just positive self-talk, it's also about recognizing when your conscious mind is getting in the way.
Ooh, tell me more about that.
So Murphy talks about Enrico Caruso, the opera singer we mentioned earlier. Remember, the guy had incredible talent.
Crippling stage fright.
Right. And he eventually realized that his conscious mind, with all its worries and anxieties, was actually interfering with his ability to sing. Like his subconscious already knew how to do it, but his conscious mind was freaking out.
Like a mental tug of war.
Exactly. And so Caruso started consciously telling his conscious mind to back off, like, hey, I got this. You're just making things worse.
And it actually worked.
It did. By affirming his ability and silencing those negative thoughts, he he was able to break free from his stage fright and deliver those legendary performances.
Wow. So the key takeaway here is not just about positive thinking, but also about recognizing when your conscious mind is sabotaging your subconscious.
Totally. It's about getting those two to work together.
And that brings us to story shot number 2, the power of positive thinking and visualization.
Which might sound a bit fluffy at first glance, but it's actually pretty powerful stuff.
I know, it's easy to dismiss it as just wishful thinking.
Right. But Murphy actually backs it up with some pretty compelling examples. He argues that positive thinking and visualization aren't just about feeling good. They can actually help you achieve your goals and even heal your body.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me an example.
Well, he talks about these 18th century priests who would tell their sick parishioners that believing in God's power would heal them, and often people would recover.
So they were essentially using the power of belief to trigger healing.
Exactly. And Murphy suggests that the power might not have been solely divine intervention, but rather the individual's own subconscious minds responding to that deep belief.
So their belief triggered their subconscious to activate self-healing mechanisms.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And then there's this other wild story about Murphy's relative who was suffering from tuberculosis. His son was desperate to help him, so he picked up this random piece of wood from the street.
A random piece of wood?
Yeah. And he told his father that it was a healing cross blessed by a holy monk.
Oh, wow.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And the father, clinging to that belief with all his might, held onto that piece of wood all night.
And
The next day, he was completely cured.
no way. So even though it was based on a lie, his belief in the power of that piece of wood somehow triggered his healing.
It seems so. It's like a really extreme example of the placebo effect. Shows you how powerful our beliefs can be, even if they're not based on facts.
That's pretty mind-blowing. But I guess if that illusion is shattered, the illness could come back, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
Mm.
Murphy mentions that. It really underscores that the belief itself is the key.
It's not about the object or the ritual, but the mental state it creates.
Exactly. Now, it's important to note that Murphy wasn't just relying on anecdotes. He had this really popular radio program called Church of the Divine Science, where he reached millions of listeners.
So he was putting these ideas out there on a large scale.
He was. And on his show, he talked about something he called the mental movie method. Basically, he encouraged his listeners to create a vivid mental picture of what they wanted to achieve, like selling a house, finding a job, improving their health.
Like a mental movie playing in their minds.
Exactly. And he told them to hold onto that image, really feel it, until their subconscious mind brought it into reality.
So it's not just about passively visualizing, but actively feeling the emotions associated with that desired outcome.
Yes. And the cool thing is, he got tons of letters from listeners who successfully used this method, especially for selling property. People would write in saying they got their asking price, found the perfect buyer, all thanks to the mental movie method.
It's like they were directing their own reality. Okay, I'm starting to see how this all ties together. So we've got this powerful subconscious mind. We can train it through repetition and visualization. And we need to be mindful of our conscious thoughts getting in the way. What else is there to know?
Well, let's talk about our body's natural ability to heal. This is story shot number 3, and it's a really empowering one.
Ooh, self-healing. That's always a fascinating topic.
It is. And Murphy suggests that we have this incredible capacity within us to tap into our subconscious to help our bodies heal themselves.
So we have this inner doctor just waiting to be activated.
In a way, yes. And one of the simplest techniques he mentions is, get this, sleeping on decisions.
Wait, you mean just going to bed and letting my subconscious work on a problem?
Yep. It sounds too easy, right? But think about it. When you're grappling with a tough decision, sometimes the best thing you can do is step away from it. Let your mind rest.
I actually do that sometimes. Just clear my head and come back to it later.
And often, you wake up with a fresh perspective, a solution you hadn't even considered before. It's like your subconscious has been working on it in the background while your conscious mind was taking a break.
Like a background app on your phone,
Yeah.
quietly crunching data while you're doing other things.
Exactly. And he tells this story about a woman who got this amazing job offer. It was across the country, double her current salary, the whole deal. But she was torn about whether to accept it.
That's a huge decision.
It is. And instead of rushing into it, she decided to sleep on it.
Wise move.
And when she woke up, she had this gut feeling that she should turn it down. She trusted that intuition, and it turned out to be the right call. A few months later, the company went bankrupt.
Wow.
It just goes to show that sometimes our subconscious knows better than our conscious mind.
So it's about listening to that inner voice, that intuition.
Exactly. And this ties into another important point Murphy makes: the power of belief when it comes to health. If you genuinely believe that you are healthy, your subconscious will work to maintain that state.
So it's not just positive thinking, but deep-seated belief.
Right. It's like your subconscious is constantly taking cues from your conscious mind. If you're constantly feeding it fear and worry about your health, it might actually manifest those things. But if you feed it positive beliefs about health and well-being, it can have a powerful healing effect. Think about the placebo effect.
Oh, where people get better just because they think they're getting treatment.
Exactly. They're given a sugar pill, but they believe it's medicine, and their body actually starts to heal. It's like their subconscious is responding to that belief. And Murphy also talks about how practices like prayer, especially when you're in that relaxed, drowsy state, can be really powerful for healing.
Because it quietens the conscious mind and allows the subconscious to take over.
Exactly. Okay, now let's talk about something that can really mess with our mental game: negative thoughts.
Oh, those are the worst. Like uninvited guests who just won't leave.
Story shot number 4 is all about banishing these mental vampires.
Let's slay them. How do we
Yeah.
do that?
Well, Murphy is very clear on this. Our thoughts have a massive impact on our emotions and our success. He said, and I'm going to quote him here, "What the other person says or does cannot really annoy or irritate you unless you permit it to do so. The whole thing takes place in your own mind."
It's so true. We often react to things in a way that's completely disproportionate to the actual event.
Exactly. And he breaks down how we get upset. First, something happens. Then we think about it. And then we choose, consciously or unconsciously, to get angry. That choice triggers the emotion, and then we react. The whole thing starts and ends in our minds.
So we actually have more control over our reactions than we realize.
Exactly. Now, to illustrate this, he tells a story about a business partner of his who was working insane hours, like to the point of jeopardizing his health.
Classic workaholic burnout scenario.
Yeah. But it turned out that it wasn't just the work itself that was stressing him out. It was this deep-seated guilt he had over his brother's death years earlier.
Oh, wow. So he was subconsciously punishing himself through overwork.
It seems so. It's a powerful example of how these hidden negative thoughts can manifest in really destructive ways.
Yeah.
It's like running a program in the background that you don't even know is there.
That's a scary thought.
It is, which is why it's so important to identify and address those negative thought patterns. And that brings us to story shot number 5, which focuses on fear.
Ugh, fear. It can be so paralyzing.
It can be. But Murphy suggests that many of our fears are actually based on false thoughts, illusions we've created in our minds.
Okay, so how do we challenge those fears? How do we see through those illusions?
By examining the underlying thoughts, by asking ourselves, is this fear really based on reality, or is it just a story I'm telling myself? For example, a lot of people fear getting old,
It's a common one, for sure.
and it's often rooted in this idea that aging means decline, becoming irrelevant.
Like your best years are behind you.
Exactly. But Murphy argues that we age when we stop learning, when we lose our curiosity and stop trying new things. He tells a story about this executive who retired at 65 and decided to embrace all the things he'd always wanted to do. He took up photography, traveled the world, even became a public speaker.
So he turned retirement into an opportunity for growth and exploration.
Exactly. And then there's the story of Murphy's own father, who at 65 started learning French. He became fluent in 5 years and then went on to learn Gaelic. He kept teaching both languages until he passed away at 99.
Wow, what an inspiration.
Right. It just goes to show that we can completely change our experience of aging by staying engaged, keeping our minds active, and maintaining a positive attitude.
Yeah.
It's about focusing on what we can still do, what we can still learn, rather than dwelling on what we might be losing.
It's like reframing aging as a new chapter, not the end of the book.
Okay, so we can train our subconscious, overcome negative thoughts and fears, but what about attracting good things into our lives, like abundance, wealth, that kind of thing? That's where story shot number 6 comes in, and it's all about combining visualization with passion.
Okay, so it's not just about picturing what you want, but really feeling passionate about it.
Exactly. Murphy suggests that simply visualizing something, while helpful, isn't always enough. To really get your subconscious on board, you need to infuse that image with genuine passion and emotion, like really connect with it on a deep level.
It's like that saying, where your attention goes, energy flows.
Exactly. And to illustrate this, he tells a story about a young man in Australia who dreamed of becoming a doctor, but he couldn't afford medical school. So every night, he would visualize his medical diploma hanging on his wall. He'd imagine every detail, feel the joy and pride of achieving his goal.
And did it work?
It did. An opportunity presented itself. A doctor saw his potential and took him under his wing, teaching him, giving him chances to earn money. Eventually, he was able to afford medical school and achieve his dream.
It's amazing how things can fall into place when you combine visualization with passion and action. It's like the universe conspires to help you. Okay, ready for something a little more unconventional?
Always.
Story shot number 7 is about finding your ideal partner.
Subconsciously, of course.
Of course. So this is about attracting love using the power of the subconscious.
Exactly. Murphy tells this story about a teacher who kept attracting weak, passive men into her life.
She was stuck in a pattern.
She was. She'd been married 3 times, and each husband was the same. So she decided to use visualization. Every night, she would create a vivid mental image of her ideal partner, focusing on qualities like strength, stability, and support.
And
Shortly after, she took a job as a secretary for a doctor.
wait, are you saying?
Yep, the doctor turned out to be exactly the kind of man she had been visualizing. They ended up getting married.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. It's like she programmed her subconscious to attract the right person.
It really is. It makes you think about what subconscious patterns might be influencing our own relationships. Okay, ready for some practical steps?
Always. Given to me.
Story shot number 8 outlines Murphy's 3 key steps for achieving success in any area of life.
Okay, I'm all ears.
The first step is to love your work.
Makes sense. If you're passionate about what you do, it's not really work, is it?
Exactly. It becomes a source of joy and fulfillment.
Okay, so find work you love. What's step 2?
Specialize. Become an expert in your chosen field.
So don't just be good, be great.
Exactly. Master your craft. Not only will it give you a sense of accomplishment, it can often lead to more success and recognition.
And more money, which is always nice.
It can. Now, step 3 is the most important one, according to Murphy, and that is to be altruistic.
To give back to others.
Exactly. He believed that true happiness and fulfillment come from serving a cause greater than yourself, from making a positive impact on the world.
It's about contributing to something bigger than yourself.
Yes. It's about finding meaning and purpose beyond just personal gain.
Okay, I love that. So, find work you love, become an expert, and give back. Solid advice. Now, speaking of happiness, didn't Murphy also have something to say about that?
He did. Story shot number 9 is all about the power of choosing happiness.
Okay, so happiness isn't something that just happens to us, it's a choice.
Murphy believes so. He said, and I'm quoting again, "You must choose happiness. Happiness is a habit. It is a good habit to ponder over often." He emphasizes that while it might seem like happiness is dependent on external circumstances, we actually have the power to choose it, regardless of what's going on around us.
So it's an internal state, not an external one.
Exactly. And he noticed that a lot of people tend to focus on the negative, always looking for what's wrong.
Oh yeah, like those people who always find the cloud in every silver lining.
Exactly. But we can consciously choose to shift our focus to the positive, to appreciate the good things in our lives. And he warns that if we constantly focus on the negative, we tend to attract more negativity into our lives.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It is. Now, finally, story shot number 10 addresses some of the common roadblocks that can prevent us from accessing the power of our subconscious mind.
So like what trips people up when they're trying to apply these principles?
Exactly. And the first big one is a lack of confidence.
Like you said, the subconscious works on the ideas we truly believe in.
Right. So if you're trying to visualize something, but deep down you don't believe it's possible, it's probably not going to work. It's like trying to grow a plant in bad soil.
Makes sense. What's the other obstacle?
Over effort. We're trying to force things.
So don't be too pushy with your subconscious.
Exactly. The subconscious works best when we're relaxed, receptive, and trusting. If you're trying to force it, it can actually backfire.
Like trying to shove a square peg into a round hole.
Exactly. It creates resistance. Murphy emphasizes the importance of patience and a relaxed approach. Trust that your subconscious is working, even if you don't see immediate results.
It's like planting a seed and then constantly digging it up to see if it's sprouted.
Exactly. You just have to trust the process.
Okay, so let's sum it all up for our amazing listeners. Today, we explored the incredible power of the subconscious mind and how it influences every aspect of our lives. We talked about using repetition and visualization to train our subconscious, overcoming negative thoughts and fears, combining passion with visualization to attract abundance, and even attracting our ideal partner.
And we learned about Murphy's 3 key steps for success. Love your work, specialize, and be altruistic.
We also talked about the importance of choosing happiness and recognizing the obstacles that can get in our way, lack of confidence and over-effort.
What you've gained today is essentially a crash course in Joseph Murphy's The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. You now have the essential knowledge without having to read the entire book.
And here's something to ponder. Choose just one area of your life where you'd like to see some positive change. Maybe it's your career, your relationships, your health, and then pick just one of the techniques we discussed today and apply it.
Start small. Try visualizing your desired outcome for a few minutes each day. Or consciously challenge those negative thoughts whenever they pop up. See what happens. You might be surprised by the results.
And remember, this is just the beginning of your exploration. There's so much more to discover about the power of your mind. If anything we talked about today resonated with you, I encourage you to delve deeper, maybe check out some of Murphy's other writings.
You hold incredible power within you. Tap into it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.